brighter than light. He'll give you strife. He's Todd. He's tall, he's mean, he's a labeling machine. He's Todd. Rides a motorbike, he'll tell you what it's like. He's Todd. Don't know what he'll say, he'll scare the kids away. He's Todd. He's Todd.
Hey, oh, there I am. Good morning. Hey, new mic. Huh? Let's try this one here. Huh? All right. Huh? Good morning. Thanks for coming. And I want to thank Brother Mobile Solutions for supplying me all this wonderful equipment that now they know about. So appreciate everybody tuning in today. And thanks for tuning in last week for the 1-year anniversary. That was a very fun show. And like I do every week, I am going to show you this. This has now been in water for, well over a year now. So we got a flag in there. We've got, it just shows again that I can back up my BS that I sling out here. It's a very, very tough label. So a couple of things. Shout out to Mr. Bruce Page out there. Bruce, I know you're watching. And yeah, hey Sam, the bling. Huh? Sam, thanks for tuning in again. In fact, I'm going to talk about you in a second. But shout out to Mr. Bruce. Bruce called me very excited this morning that it was his 18th month anniversary. Congratulations, Bruce. I mean, it's kind of like getting a participation award for coming in 9th out of 10. But anyway, congratulations, Bruce. We really didn't think you'd make it to 18 months. So hats off to you. So I got a very special guest today. I'm going to share a couple of screens, and we're going to go over brother specs. But you know, when I was a contractor, specs were very important, and for a couple of reasons. It made my job a lot easier on the install. We all knew what the products were going in. It made my purchasing department very happy because again, same products, they knew what to purchase. So we're going to talk about specifications today, and not specifically brother specifications. I'll do that in the end. But I did bring a special guest. We'll get him on in a minute. Ian, we ran into each other, I don't know, either through BS with Todd or somewhere outside of BS with Todd. And Ian is actually up in Canada. So I appreciate him joining me this afternoon. And me and Ian actually share a couple of things in common. Number one, the love of labeling. All right. Number two is Sonos. All right. Love it. Number three is barbecue. And speaking of barbecue, I'll actually be up in Fort Collins visiting my older brother next week. And he has invited me to a barbecue. Now, one of the things I will tell you is that sales definitely spike of the Pepto. You know, while families up there gathering at my older brother Sam's house, his chicken, woo, Sam's salmonella surprise. So anyway, I'm really kind of not looking forward to that, but anyway, I'll be up there next week. So surprise, surprise, Sam. So anyway, without further ado, and I brought Ian on essentially to back up my BS. I sit back here and I sling a lot of BS, and it's always good to have somebody usually paid that is going to back up my BS. So without further ado, Kate, would you where's Ian?
Hey, Todd, I'm here.
Well, you know, Ian, you're looking a little grayish this morning. Oh, there he is. So
yeah, probably a little gray.
Anyway, yeah. So Ian, thank you for your time. Oh, here, let me give you one of these. There we go. So anyway, Ian, thanks for coming on the show this morning. And Ian is developing kind of a unique labeling system that I'm working with him on, and we're running through kind of the final stages of what we're going to do with that labeling. But I really wanted to bring you on, Ian, this morning to talk about specifications. Ian deals with data centers and really everything inside a data center. And like I just said in my monologue, it makes life a lot easier. And we'll talk about labeling in a little bit. But from when you get a specification, right, and it may be something you have chosen or somebody else has chosen, back me up on this. It does make life a lot easier, correct?
Yeah. Well, and having labels that are going to stand a test of time. Everything needs to be labeled in a data center, right? So, like a patch panel needs to be labeled, cables need to be labeled, servers, network gear, connections, all the electrical side. You want to have labels that are going to be there forever, because the guys that put them on aren't going to be handwritten, aren't really what you want to have.
You still see the handwritten stuff. Don't get me wrong. And
oh yeah.
Okay. All right. But, so again, thank you for backing up my BS. It actually does occur out there in the field still.
And the problem is sometimes the tools are hard for the guys to get to, right? So we have all these little handheld things that doesn't do what they want to do, or they don't have the materials, so they just do whatever they have in their truck, and they're not going to take the time to get the right materials for the job.
And then the other thing I've seen too is, again, when I was building data centers and the design build type of deal, is I'd run into a data center or even a closet somewhere in a building in a campus environment to where you may have 4 or 5 different types of labels, and they're very easy to spot. But again, you want to leave a good impression, and you don't want 5 different types of patch cables, 3 different types of rack, 4 different types of connectivity, and 4 different brands of labels. So again, from a specification standpoint, it makes life a lot easier. And your specification, correct me if I'm wrong, is based upon the research that you do in the product, correct?
Yeah, and that's what we've actually done a lot more on our specifications over the last little while, based on new products becoming available, us getting a better understanding of it. Software being, like, all these things are software driven now, or being able to do more within the units. You can make a label from your phone now, where the guys doesn't get the cheapy labeler from Staples and just punches it up, or you prefer him not to. So there is advantages of the technology that's coming, but now you have to make it available to everyone across the field, right? So it has to be in a handheld, it has to be on their mobile, it has to be on a PC.
So you've done your homework, man. I'm impressed as far as printing from the apps and all sorts of stuff.
It's challenging.
It's not challenging. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you. And again, I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, but labeling, I know back in the day, and you can remember and appreciate that. But like you said, we'd go down to the big box stores, and we buy our little $29, $39 printer back here, which is that guy, right? And we do everything by hand. And a patch panel would be A01-01 space, and so forth and whatnot. And again, that was kind of the norm at the time. But things have come a long way. And as you and I have been working on the software and developing these labels, you've seen basically how easy it is. And in Ian's case, Ian is introducing QR codes. Am I correct? Correct me if I'm okay.
Yeah, we're looking at it, and right. with minimal human intervention to it, right? Because nobody's going to format a QR code.
No. So again, things have come a long way as far as labeling, and on some of my previous episodes, I've basically shown how easy it is to take that information and transpose it into a QR or an Aztec or a Codabar or really whatever you want to do. So labeling has come a long way, and the fact of people, yourself and myself, it's no secret. I'm not a fan of labeling. Never was as a contractor. It's like peeling an orange. And so the easier labeling is, the less time you guys have to spend out in the field, and most importantly, I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, with today's new technology, there's less mistakes.
Less mistakes, and things move, right? So you might move some connections. Do you have to recreate all the labels all the way through the pathway? Things that never used to have a name before, or the contractor didn't care if there's a name because they just looked at it as a port, as a patch panel. Now, patch panels to us are an asset that you actually have to have tracked, and it needs a name. So now every patch panel needs to, in essence, be labeled to reference back to your DSIM or your CMS tools or stuff like that.
Well, assets, that's another thing that I talk about quite a bit on the show here is that I preach asset management religiously. And again, I've been on the other side of the fence where you can't find things and you may find something, but you don't know when it was. And there may be certain information you want, date of install. It could be anything you really want on that particular asset. And, your money's going, or your company's out there spending money on these assets, essentially. So I'm sure at times you're going to be accountable, just as I am, with the brother that I sell and obviously what they send me. So asset management is huge. I'll continue to preach that all day long. Inside the data centers, which is your primary focus. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned there's a lot of components, and I really don't know because I didn't do my homework. But here we try to adhere to certain codes, which is the BICSI 606C standard. And I know the C 606C was ratified not too long ago. And it used to be in the old days, you can label the patch panel, you label the faceplate, and then they really didn't care about, the cable wrap or the cable ID. But now you're getting into things like Firestop. You're getting into labeling, grounding, bonding, and everything prior to 606C. And so it's very important. And there's a lot people don't realize inside a data center that needs to be labeled, not only for visual, here, hold on a second. Visual identification, but again, from an asset management standpoint. So, would you attest to that? I think there's more that meets the eye.
Yeah, there is. And like I said, some stuff that never got labeled before is now being labeled because it has a name. And you want to have every patch cable labeled. You want to know where that's going to, power cable, as much as you can. And then you have security stuff and everything in the background too.
Yeah. You know what? That's something we really didn't bring up, but you have security, you have access control, you have all the electrical components, you have your HVAC components, you have your pathways, whether it be overhead or underfloor pathways as well. So there's just a lot inside a data center. Well, hell, even for that matter, inside just a regular, TR room. I think I'm using a really old term, TR, but anyway, there's quite a bit now. And again, you got a liability standpoint too. I mean, and that's the other thing that comes with labeling is liability. You've got safety issues out there, asset management issues out there. And, again, all of that is incorporated into, what you deal with on a daily basis, Ian. So, I appreciate you coming on board.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you looking at my email at 4 a.m. this morning. I couldn't sleep last night. I think I told you before the show, but getting old sucks. And but I appreciate you coming on this morning, Ian. You and I will be in contact after this, and
Okay.
we've got a project ahead of us, and the goal is 100% success with your particular project. So I want to thank you for coming on and basically backing up my BS this morning. And with that being said, I'm going to share my screen. Ian, any closing comments?
No, good to be on. Nice. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, hey, listen, keep the coals burning on the egg, if you will. And I need to send you some barbecue sauce. So I got your address.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't know if you knew I have your address, but anyway, I'm going to send you up some barbecue sauce. I hear it's pretty good. So Ian, thank you very much. And I'm going to share a couple of screens here. and we'll close this thing out. So again, thank you to Ian. Much appreciated. So let me, this is actually, and hopefully this comes up. Shout out to Angie Palmer for putting this together. And this is actually a blog. She's got it in a couple of trade mags right now. Kate is going to show you the link to this, but this is on the Brother Mobile Solutions website, but essentially goes through kind of what we were talking about. And I know it's tough to read, and we're not going to go through this whole thing, but it goes through the importance of specifications in here. All right. And it talks about labels that last, and it talks about the cost of labeling, and it talks about, everything that I talked about previously. And then at the end of it is my favorite subject. Look at that handsome guy right there. So the other thing I wanted to share real quick, and hopefully it comes up, is this. So Brother actually has a specification, and I wrote this specification a couple of years ago, and it's been kind of a living, breathing document as things change. So number one, when we come out with new product, all right, I want to make sure the new product is in here. Number two is that I want to use as much of the 606C standard that I possibly can in here. Third of all, which I think is most important in this case for the contractor, the end user, it makes life a lot easier. So as I scroll through here, it goes through the different scopes. It also goes through, the different references that I'm using in here as far as the ANSI TIA documentation. All right. It goes through and it says all labels shall be generated by a mechanical device. All of this stuff is inside 606C documentation right now, and they should not be handwritten and so forth and whatnot. But as we scroll down here, it goes into the specific products. And this is a hard specification. So this is something to where a contractor, a GC, a consultant can essentially take this and apply it to an RFP or an RFQ, and everything's done for them because it outlines the machines that you can use from a desktop standpoint. So it's got our new PTP 900 series in there. It has our PTE 800 series in there. And then I even get down to the minutia as far as, print speeds and so forth and whatnot. Now, it's no secret. Not only does it make life a lot easier, but it hard specs the Brother product in there, and it makes my job as a salesman a lot easier. It also kind of weeds out our competition, right? And again, that's part of the idea of a hard spec, is to get that material spec'd in so that way that project is going to have everything Brother on there. So as we scroll down a little bit more, it goes into our handheld units, the 550W, it goes into the 500, the 300, and then it goes into the labels. And I'm very specific on what labels to use for the job. So if you're using cable wraps, you want to use the FX series of tapes, all right? The standard adhesive is going to be for smooth, flat surfaces. Heat shrink tube, by going to the heat shrink tube in here. But right here, I have it lined out, again, to make life a lot easier on the contractor as far as the recommended tapes to use. Our super narrow tape for the high density patch panels, right? That's very important. The TZE 221, very popular tape, 3/8 inch for patch panels and faceplates. And again, I've got all that lined out here. As far as the tapes, one of the things I want to point out here on this is that our S series of tapes. So a lot of these cabinets and racks are going to be powder coated. And so I catch myself looking at my new mic all the time. I don't know why. I'll try and stop that. But anyway, any type of porous surface or a powder coated surface, you want to use our extra strength tape. Now, how does TZES equate to extra strength? Who the hell knows? Somebody came up with that. But anyway, our S series of tapes are going to be for any type of porous material, cinder block wall, if you will, a rack or a cabinet that's been powder coated. It's got a softer adhesive, so it gets inside those micro nooks and crannies, and it's going to stick a lot longer. So again, all of that is outlined here. This is available If you reach out to myself or one of my team members, and I'll go through their contact information here in a little bit, but if you reach out to one of our team members, we can supply this to you. It is a Word document. We recommend not to change it. But the good thing about this is it's a living, breathing document. And if some of those particular printers don't apply to the job, change it. Please do. All right. But the fact that it's all written out and ready to go is a huge time savings. I talk to consultants all the time, and a lot of these specs for labeling, they're really not specific. They don't get into the weeds. They just put a generic spec out there, which really all manufacturers, including Brother, can generally meet that spec. But it also means that you can have some manufacturers that really aren't in the industrial field also get into that spec, and then you're really not doing your customer any favor whatsoever. So again, the hard spec is available at any time. And if you have any questions on this, please let me know. Also, if you need one of our team members to talk to a consultant, get in front of a consultant, talk to an end user, again, it goes back to what myself and Ian were talking about. It is asset management. It is liability. You don't want labels falling off and setting yourself up for some type of liability. So again, it's very important that you have an industrial strength manufacturer like Brother in there as your labeling solution. This also goes into some of the new aspects of 606C, which again is going to be fire stopping, grounding, bonding. It goes into the cables, but again, it's got a lot of that incorporated into this. So one more time, if you need this, please reach out and we'll send that out to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. There I am. You know what? I'm going to give myself one of these. Yeah? Or see, now I can't hear any of this. I don't know if y'all can hear this, but I thought it was pretty cool. And Kate was out there earlier, and Kate and Kelly said they could hear it. So anyway, just another little toy, a little gadget. 1022, what I'm going to do right now, any questions, comments, concerns, please send them to myself or one of my team members directly. We'd be more than happy to help you with specifying Brother labeling into your project. And again, it could be new construction. I know that what Angie put together was based upon new construction, but I go out into the field all the time, and there could be existing infrastructure there, and the folks aren't happy with the labeling. And a lot of times it comes down to a couple of different factors. It comes down to the cost of labeling. Most people out there don't realize that if you're not using Brother, you're spending way, way, way too much money. And at the end of the day, all of those dollars add up. So I can go into an existing environment and basically flip them over to Brother, get the spec in, and then everything going forward is going to be Brother specific. So whether it be new construction, existing construction, again, living, breathing document here if you need it. So let's talk about what's coming up in the near future here. So next, Thursday after next, May 6th, Chuck Chat. Hey, Chuck, I came up with that last night. So we're going to have Mr. Chuck Bowser on here. And he's got a couple of things that he does as far as webisodes and his own different channels. And he's a real cool data dude. And so I've been trying to get Chuck on here for the longest time. And, I think it's going to be worth the $12 that I'm going to spend to have Chuck on here. So, Chuck, I'm looking forward to that as well. May 20th, Ask Todd Anything. Kate, I don't know where you came up with that. But you can always ask me anything at any time. And everyone out there knows I don't have a filter. I'm going to answer you very, very honestly. But May 20th, we're either going to do Ask Todd Anything. We can get into a lot of trouble with that. I'm telling you right now. Or we'll come up with something a little better. Hey, one of the things I noticed is, and you know what? I'm not really vain. I'm not. Obviously, look at the way that I look and I dress and I talk and so forth. But one of the things that really bothers me, and now that I'm going to point this out, y'all are going to be looking at it, but this gap, it's killing me. It's absolutely killing me. And I'll watch the episodes every now and then, and I notice this damn gap here. And we got some great insurance, and I guess I need to take advantage of that. But yeah, now that I said that, everyone's going to be focusing on the old gapage right there. How to contact the team. Kate, let's show everybody who to contact. Y'all know where I'm out of, Southern California. I got my contact information up there. Mr. Jamie Brookover in Virginia Beach. Mr. Dan Cobb. Dan sent me a picture, snowing like hell still. I understand there's a bunch of snow up in Colorado too. It's actually a little drizzly today. It's been 80 to 82 degrees up here, and we got a little precipitation. That word's not mine. But anyway, we got a little precipitation and a little bit wet outside. But yeah, Dan, those pictures are phenomenal with all the snow out there. Mr. Bruce Page, we talked about Bruce earlier. Again, congratulations on your 18 months. Here. Yay. In all seriousness, Bruce, you've been a value add team member. Thank you very much. Bruce is my biggest supporter out there as far as BS with Todd. He understands the value and what I bring to the table. So thank you very much, Bruce. I appreciate that. So Bruce is in Marblehead somewhere. Anyway, Rob Dawkins is in North Carolina. And then Mr. Craig Robinson, our glorious leader, is out of Bradenton, Florida. Bradenton. Anyway, so with that being said, I'm going to end this thing 4 minutes early. I sincerely appreciate this. There are a couple of Kate, did you get those links that I sent earlier? So there's a couple of things coming up. One is, and let me see if I have it still up here. No, I don't. So if you want the link for the blog that Angie did, reach out to me. It's a very, very good blog. Number two is next Thursday, I will be a guest on the Bixie ICT Forum, which starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you want the link for that, please reach out to me. The link is in the comments too. Okay. So there you go. There's the links. I didn't even look over there. Thank you, Kate. So there's our links right there. Hopefully, if you need a couple of CECs, I believe they're handing out 3 CECs. That's going to be next Thursday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I think my time slot is at 2:30, something like that. I'm going to be talking about myself and Ian's favorite subject, which is labeling within a data center. So if you can attend, I'd love to see you on board for that Bixie ICT. And then again, the link to the spec blog that Angie wrote is available. With that being said, please take a look over at the chats, comments. Kate's leaving some information over there. Kate, thank you very much, as always, for being back there and basically being the ringleader of this circus. I thank you again. And with that being said, 10/28, I will see you on May 6th. Going to be a good show with Chuck Bowser. So Todd out. Have a good week.